Well, hello there. Welcome back to the Megan and podcast, you guys. We are in for such a treat today. I have a guest, kind of a new acquaintance in my life, and just how Instagram would have it, or prayers, or God's divine, interaction. I don't know, but she is a true just gem, and instantly if you hop on her page you will fall in love with her too, and just her southern voice and just aesthetics. And I'm going to dive into this conversation with my friend Scarlett Williams. Scarlett, welcome to the Megan and podcast. I am so glad you are here today.
Oh, thank you so much. So this is my very first podcast interview, so I couldn't imagine doing it with anyone better, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Okay. So I give a very vague introduction because I want you to share with my audience, who is Scarlett?
Yeah, that's been an ever-evolving question because I
love that. Who is Scarlett right now?
Right, because I have been in a season of rebuilding. I am a newly single mama. I am a newly author, but I am also the content creator behind White Pecan Farmhouse. I previously was White Florida Farmhouse, but recently moved from Florida to Georgia, had to do some rebranding, and now here I am under White Pecan Farmhouse, where I just love sharing farmhouse inspiration. I love encouraging women to have a great deep faith and embrace the simpler, slower way of living, and being able to just look around and appreciate God's beauty through the simple things instead of everything the world tells us about needing to be busy and overwhelmed and all of that. That's the brief introduction there. I am also, the thing I loved about connecting with you is I am also an adoptive mama, and we've been able to share a lot of heartstrings about each of our journeys. And that's been a story in and of itself.
And it's, I always say this is the beautiful thing of technology and social media platforms. It can be hard and also can just connect you to the most amazing people. And
Right.
I think Instagram world, the algorithm was like, hey, you are becoming this chicken lover as myself, this new season of life for me.
Right.
I'm coming off of a very hard season personally and hopping into this new modern farm life, I call it, and just season. And so the algorithm was like, hey, you should probably meet this girl because she's gonna help you understand these chickens that bring joy to your heart. And when I hopped on your page, you just happened to announce that your book was coming out. And I, as an author myself, I was like, holy cow. And it was a book about like a beginner's guide for chickens. And so let's talk about that, because this season for me and for my audience, I'm pushing them to get a little uncomfortable. Uncomfortable doesn't mean hustle. It doesn't mean, it's really stepping into a deeper purpose for your life and in the things that matter most. And I personally know how uncomfortable it can be when you write a book and you launch something into this world, but also, just stepping into that season of, what that looks like. And so what inspired you? Let's talk about this book that just hit number one right off the bat. Like it did not take long, which was amazing. I actually
God, for sure. And my amazing community who supported
it. Yes. I personally got it right away. Could not wait to read it. And so what inspired you to do this? And tell us about that journey for you and getting uncomfortable and launching a book in the world.
Yes, it definitely was something that was requiring me to step outside my comfort zone, because as I'm learning, a lot of us have stories in our heart, but then taking that step of faith to believe in ourselves and to believe God to get our story out there, definitely I've learned that getting uncomfortable first requires obedience to something you feel called to do, and that courage isn't something that you're born with. It's something that you are having to do despite the fear. And hoping that this thing that you were giving birth to and creating is going to be something that people love and embrace, and more than just your mom reads. But what led me to this particular thing, so I have worn a lot of hats in life. A big part of my career was I was a wedding photographer, and back before social media, what helped me to be a storyteller in that season of life was not only through my camera capturing weddings, but I really embraced blog writing, and from that I gathered a large audience that followed my blog, and brides would tell me, I'm hiring you, because you're a good photographer, but I just love the stories you tell on your blog. And so I've always been a storyteller in one way or another. Since then, that has transitioned to now I am a content creator, and I tell stories through my Instagram posts and my reels and my mailing list. And as I was, starting over this new life in Georgia and just praying about the next direction, what should I do? I went back to just the thought of, what was it a couple years ago, the Marie Kondo about what sparks joy in your life. And I literally thought, what sparks joy in my life? And I said, as silly as it sounds, it's my feather babies. It is my chickens that I am out there every day spoiling and snuggling, and the joy of bringing in their fresh eggs that are feeding my family, and all that they have taught me. That my book is actually, yes, it's about the beginning steps of raising chickens, but it's more about how chickens are the gateway to creating this more simpler, slower, beautiful life at home, and helping you to just appreciate the beauty in the everyday simple things of life. And it's funny because I never thought someone could tell me, oh my gosh, I never thought a story about chickens could make me cry. But it's been so sweet to hear that feedback, that that they just have this way of getting to your heart. And this book would kind of became almost like a love letter to my flock, but more about how they helped me to grow and rebuild, and just have a new, fresh perspective in life.
I love that. And as somebody who, transitioned from, we lived in the country, but transitioned to farm life, and came out of a hard season. It was crazy because I did not expect, for us personally, we came into chickens. We've ventured with chickens at our other place, but just the setup and everything was not ideal. And my friends and family are like, who are you? Because we got this coop and we got these chickens, and they free range most of the time. And they're just like a calming joy that I, in a busy season, navigating a new lifestyle for us and for me and my family, they were just a new joy that I did not expect to bloom in this season. And I know chickens aren't for everybody, but they're just it's just so fun. They're fun to watch. They're not always easy, which you explain that in their book, but I love how you tie in just this lifestyle of slowing down into into raising chickens, and just I think communicate both of I know you mentioned, when they weren't meant to do life alone, they're not. And that was something you learned. That's something I'm learning. I took a chick and just made it mine, but she really needed her flock, and that also correlated
safety and protection and community.
Yes, absolutely. And going back, you said something of basically courage is not something that you are born with. And I think, people, when you launch a book or when you do something big that God has kind of called you into, I think you can sit back and I could never do that. She must be more courageous. She must have a, just a bigger, must be more bolder. It's like the people who skydive or, stuff like that. I could never do that because I could never, she must be born with that. And I love that you said that you're not born courageous. It is something that has to come through obedience.
And something you have to do in the face of fear. That's how you build your courage.
It is.
And a lot of times the Lord will ask you to do those things that you're like, yeah, no, not for me. But then he just continues to call it on your heart, and you have to go, okay, well, I guess it's now I'm going to choose obedience over my own nervousness and questioning and everything. And I'm going to carry forth this step of faith, and I'm going to see what God does with it.
Yeah, and I think that I call it the humorous part about God is he doesn't give you the whole picture.
Right.
He gives you
right.
He gives you tidbits, nuggets along the way.
Yes.
And we want the whole picture, and that's where the fear starts.
Right. One of the best books that left such an impact on me early on in my faith that I read in college was a book my mama was reading by Stormy O'Martian that was called Just Enough Light for the Step I'm On. And
Ooh.
That book left such a visual impact in my faith walk of we're not supposed to know the whole picture. We're not supposed to know the how. We're just supposed to have the faith for each step that God is taking us on in each season of life. And it just, is something that I've carried with me now 20 years later and continued with each new season that he's been bringing me through.
I love that. Now, circling back, have you always grown up with a close relationship with the Lord, or has that came later in your life?
For the most part, my mama raised me in a small Baptist church, and I was, baptized when I was 13, 14, but not really understanding the deeper reasonings behind it. I was doing it more because my mama's friend who was in her 80s, it was kind of her mentor, was like, you need to get that girl baptized. You've been coming here 6 months. It's time for her to, get baptized with the Lord. So, I went through the motions of it, but it wasn't until later on in college that I went through a heartbreak, and it was that first, I think, just cut to the heart of realizing okay, I can't do this on my own. I need you, Lord. I need you to not only just heal my broken heart, but I need you to guide me through this life because I don't know what I'm doing, especially in that season where you're just trying to figure out who you are and everything. And I, vividly remember that moment in a car just crying out to the Lord and saying, I need you. I can't do this anymore on my own. I thought being the good girl was enough,
Yes,
but
yes.
right. I was the people pleaser, wanted to do everything right, but it's so much more than that. And so from that moment on, then I started to realize it was not about the routine of going to church, but it was more about the relationship with the Lord. And, it's funny. I remember my mom had sent me off to college with my Bible that I had never opened. I just kind of took it because mom gave it to me, and then after that moment, when I came back from the winter break, when I had that moment, I started opening my Bible, and my roommate came in and she was like, what, why are you suddenly reading your Bible?
Yeah,
and I was like, believe it or not, there's a lot of good drama in here. There's a lot of good stories. But then there was, I kind of first started with the book of Proverbs and Psalms because it was just a lot of good inspirational quotes. And so those were kind of like my first stepping stones to that journey. And then just really started pursuing God's heart more and more because he says, draw close to me and I will draw close to you. And through each season, to this day, I still use my very first youth Bible because in each season I have gained so much wisdom and I've underlined things and I've written things and highlighted, and I just can't let it go even though it's still my youth Bible because it's also just great to be able to reflect back on each of those seasons and how far I've come, but yet still learning, even in this season of life. And so, yeah.
I love that. And I do have to laugh because from what I felt like I knew of the Bible, of people fall asleep reading the Bible. It is so boring. And
Right.
that was too, I found Jesus later in my life as well.
Mm-hmm.
Always knew him, but again, it was the motions of it.
Right.
It wasn't the relationship. And so once
Right.
once he waited for me to want a relationship with him,
Right.
I was like, whoa, the Bible's fascinating.
I
Like, it
know,
is
right?
wild. Some spots are wilder than others.
I
How do
know.
people fall asleep during this?
I
Like, it's
know.
so good. And I love that, for many people, the Bible can be very intimidating as
Right.
well. Like, where I'm
Right.
like, how do people just open their Bible and then to what? So I love that you
Right.
said, like Psalms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a lot of poetry, and it's
Right.
beautiful writing of good and joy and heart. And
Right.
um, I think that's, if someone is wondering, listening to this
Right.
podcast, like, where would I even start? That I think that's a great
Right.
start. You think it's like a book that you should start at the beginning, but that's
Right.
kind of a lot. Yeah.
Right. What I love is that it starts in that season of the worry, the angst, the questioning, and then over the book of Psalms, it translates into the praising and the worshiping and God being faithful to all that David was worried about.
Yes, I love that. And I know you went through an incredibly difficult season. Um, Change and a new house, like, I mean, all this in navigating life without a partner. You're a single mom and with two beautiful babies, and um, now walking through that season, because just because, and we can say, like I said this before, like, just because I chose to follow the Lord, he never promises comfort.
Right.
He never promises a life of ease. And it's in that hard season that is extremely difficult. You can question a lot and have a lot of God takes everything. God takes all the emotion that we give him. But for someone walking through just how they thought their life would be, and trying to navigate, this is where I thought, like, how did this happen? And now here I am, and it's not quite a 180, but it's close to 180 in life. Like, what would you tell her?
Well, she's learned a lot in the past year. But most importantly, I would tell her, don't give up in the middle chapter. That's not meant to be the ending. And I would tell her, even if you are holding on by a thread, God is still going to be faithful for you reaching out and trying to touch the hem of his robe, like my sister in the Bible. Because, God tells us you don't have to have a big faith. You just have to have the size of a mustard seed. And he has promised, if you have even just that, whatever mountain is in front of you, if you tell it to move, it will move. And he has promised to take care of us as his daughter and as his children. And also to, we all have a choice of, do we dwell in the uncomfortableness, or do we dwell in the hope in front of us? Do we choose bitterness, or do we choose peace? Do we choose to say, these are my hard circumstances, I'm going to give up? Or do we say, okay, life took a pivot beyond what I could expect, but God has always proven faithful. He has always proven that, onward and upward, our best days can still be ahead of us. And, when I think about the emotional roller coaster of those uncertain moments and those moments that were full of fear of the unknown, I wish I could rewind a year ago and just hug myself and continue to look at myself through the tears and say, you're gonna be okay. God's got you. Because it is amazing how it was a year ago this month when life started unraveling and I didn't know what was ahead. And now here I am, fast forward a year, I've published a book. It became a #1 bestseller. I was recently featured in USA Today. Like, all these things that God has just shown up and shown off. And I just continue to sit here and just be amazed, but just rejoicing in his faithfulness, that he took care of me. He's taking care of my children, and he kept that promise. Our better days were ahead. And to just, he promises to make all things new. He promises that his mercies are new every morning. And he's promised that we can do all things through him. And yeah, so.
I love that. Like he gave us the right to choose.
Right.
And he did. And I love that you say, there's a choice in this. There's a choice in A or B, and I know for myself personally, when I hit January, I was like, I'm not choosing to stay here. Right. Like this hole is not where I'm meant to be. I'm going to choose minute by minute, day by day, sometimes hour by hour, just to what do you have for me today to get into this new door, into this new promise, space that you into this new season that you want me in, because this doesn't feel, I'm not staying here. And I think it can be more uncomfortable to choose. I always say it's harder to choose. I want to get out sometimes, because then you're like, I don't know where out is, but I'm trusting.
Be open to releasing that control and trusting him to write our story.
Yeah, I would say be careful what you pray for.
I know, right? And that was one thing I loved about your book was how, your plans were, I want 0 children.
Yes.
And then now here you are with, it's 4, right?
Yes, 4.
And I'm sure you can, testify to, there has been so much joy on the other side of being a mother of 4 children than if you had followed your plans of not becoming a mother. And that was something that God really convicted me of when I was, going through all the infertility struggles and praying about the next direction. There was a season where we had tried a treatment and it failed, and I ran out to the river where I always say I find God closest by the water, and I got to the end of this deck, and all of a sudden God trapped me there with a rain shower. So I was like, okay, what is it that you're wanting to tell me? And I remember him verbally saying, what if your joy is waiting on the other side of what you're not ready to surrender to me? And I was just like, oh, okay, that's deep. And then I heard him say, will you finally open your heart to adoption? Because at that time I was, I had never grown up thinking I was going to be an adoptive mom. And, I, as any woman with our womanly instincts, I wanted my own babies, and, but it was that moment where I felt like, when he went to Mary and said, will you be a servant of the Lord? Because I'm about to give you Jesus. And she had to step outside her level of comfort and say, I am willing to get uncomfortable and follow this calling. And yes, I will be a servant of the Lord. And so that was my own moment of going, okay, yes, I will open my heart to adoption. And from there, it was crazy how 6 days later, a past bride who I'd photographed called me and was like, hey, I have a cousin who's getting ready to place a baby for adoption. I know you don't have any children yet. Any chance that you would want to adopt this baby? And I was like, okay, Lord, I know you were testing me there. I didn't expect it to happen this quick. And though it did not work out with that particular baby, I felt like it was just God asking, okay, will you do this? And then him sending just a little test to say, just to make sure you're still on board, And then it was 5 months after that then we got matched with Birth Mom. And so for the children that I do have now. And so, if you think about anyone in the Bible, they were not perfect people. They were not the holiest of holiest. They were not the leaders in their community. God chose normal, regular, everyday people to step outside their comfort zone and accomplish something incredible for his kingdom. And it took them having to first surrender and say yes, having to take the step of faith of the next thing he was calling them to do, and to go against a lot of opposition, for the sake of Christ. And though that's never the comfortable part, we know it's to be expected, and it's that whatever it is, we're going to face challenges, but it's those challenges that grow us and make us stronger and teach us the greatest lessons that we need to learn from whatever he's calling us to do.
It's so true. It's the process. And I think how long does that process take? I think it varies on the preparation that he needs for
Right.
next season.
Right.
And I said that with adoption. I wanted things to happen overnight, of course,
Right.
and it didn't.
Right.
It was 999 days from the
I
time
I
I said
love
yes to the
that.
time we adopted her, and she was officially ours. And then, but I needed those 999 days
Right.
ready for the next season as an
Right.
adoptive mom,
Right.
and preparing for that, and writing a book, called to writing a book. Like,
Right.
I needed that season, and I needed that time, and I needed that encouragement from him, and that
Yes.
like that encouragement got stronger and faster. Also, I was like, oh, okay, I will get going, because I'm a natural procrastinator. And but it was that process that prepared me for just the next season of what he was going to call me to. And I get goosebumps when you hit a full circle year of life
Right.
happening into being number one for your book. Like,
Only God.
amazing. And I'm so proud of you. Like, I just,
Oh, thank you.
I love it. And I love that I always, it's a prayer of mine of like, God, bring the right people into my life. Bring the right people, take the right people away. I think certain seasons you got to leave people behind, unfortunately. But he will
There are
open the
pruning
doors.
seasons.
Yes, and pruning seasons, yes.
But they're so necessary, because that's
They
what
are.
leads to the greater growth on the other side and for the next
Yeah.
season.
Yes, and they're so necessary. And I think for you, this book, these chickens, like, little did you know,
I know.
such a simple yes to 3 little of the most adorable little fluff balls.
Little
You have to get,
squishies.
if you don't even like chickens, just get her book for the pictures. I mean, you like, oh my gosh, even my 15-year-old who thought I was a chicken nut, now we're going to be redoing our coop and everything. And she's like looking at these pictures. She shed a few tears, with your story. There's so many takeaways, even if it's not about a chicken. It's
Right.
it's so good.
Whether it's about raising chickens or raising a raised bed garden, there are so many beautiful lessons waiting in the Mother Nature that God created. And, my mom, she's more of a gardener, and she used to have this little sign in her garden that said, I feel like I'm always closest to God in the garden. And, in my younger years, I was not into gardening, but then in my previous home, I finally stepped outside my comfort zone and said, okay, I don't know a lot, but I'm willing to start with 4 raised beds and start planting things and learn as I go. And the lessons that I was able to learn just getting my hands in the dirt and watching these little seeds turn into these bountiful harvests, and but also yet the challenges of trying to grow organically, but yet dealing with Florida pests that were, eating things and all that. When we really just take a step back to the simple things in life, the old-fashioned ways of things, there's just so many beautiful lessons waiting for us in the soil that is our life. And a lot of times, I feel like something that gardening really taught me was that we plant these seeds in the darkness of the soil that's the muckiest of the muck, if you know what really goes into a good compost. And God takes that little seed in the dark places, and he puts light and water into it, and he grows it into the sunshine where it just blooms. And that's so much of what he does with us. Sometimes, in those 999 days that you were waiting, I'm sure under the soil of all that, he was doing something in you to prepare your heart to receive this miracle he was, sending on the way. And there was things that you needed to do for that little seed in your heart to grow and expand before it could break through and hold this baby in your arms. And there's just so many lessons in Mother Nature, and I just feel so blessed that every day I get to look out at this pecan orchard that my house sits in the middle of and just take it all in, and now watch it through each season that we're here. And there's just so much to learn and so many life perspective changing lessons.
There really is. And, I moved to a place, my mother-in-law, and she had a season with her kids were grown,
Yeah.
and her therapy was clearly in these gorgeous flower beds and this big garden. And I remember like when we were, we prayed, we had a lot of conversations to buy the farm and to come here. And I knew a piece of my husband's heart was always here. So we got to have the rest of his heart it was gone for many years, a little piece of it. But we came here and I just remember being like, oh my gosh, with young kids and we're so busy. I am not in a season where this is going to be my thing. Mm-hmm. I negotiated. I was a hairdresser. So I'm like, I'll color your hair if you teach me all this stuff.
Yeah.
Not really into it. And I kind of joked.
Otherwise, community comes in, the bartering system.
Yes. And then she passed away unexpectedly a couple months before we came here.
Oh, goodness.
It's this of like, we're in winter, we're in Minnesota winter, and I was just like, no, you were supposed to teach me. You were supposed to like do this. You were supposed to do this for me because I'm not in this season and I don't want this. And all this grief. And it's crazy because once spring came and all of a sudden the ugliness of the Minnesota snow and the dirt and the grass started growing, and then these flowers started to bloom. I am there every day, like thanking her for the roots that she already planted.
Right.
For us to, because many things come up automatically, but for us to enjoy and feel joy, like that joy in her heart and that calmness and just her. Yeah. And she had no idea that every seed she planted would leave this like our legacy, a legacy for my kids and us to like feel that and to enjoy that. And now I'm like, well, what can I plant for the next generation? And now it changed my shift in perspective of how a little seed has bloomed into something. I'm so grateful that she decided to plant.
Right. And there's another saying that I've always carried that was so cute. My daughter even made me a cute little sign with her little sweet hands recently. The saying is, everything is figure outable. Because like you, I don't come from a homesteading background. I had a meemaw that did raise her own vegetables in the South during the years my dad was growing up, but she passed away very young, and before I got to know her and glean her stories. And so I feel like I'm kind of carrying on her tradition, but without her guidance and having to figure it all out myself. And everything is figure outable, just one step at a time. For me, it started with chickens, and then that evolved into raised bed gardens. And now my next thing that I have been putting off because it seems so intimidating, but I'm determined to learn, is how to make sourdough bread.
Okay, please post that. That's kind of the next
because I just feel like that's the next natural evolution in learning to homestead. And eventually I will get there. I have not mastered it yet or attempted it yet, because I feel like, with anything in life, whether it's chickens or gardening or farming or sourdough, it can feel intimidating at first, but everything is figure outable. You just have to take one step and then the next step and then the next step. And that was a great lesson I learned from running a marathon once in my life. Was I got, to the halfway point going, I don't know if I can continue the other half, but I had to tell myself, you know what, just take one step and then another step and another step, and you will eventually get across that victory line. And I didn't even care how long it took me to get there, and it took me 6 hours, but I eventually got there by just continuing to take another step and another step and another step. And whatever it is that's in front of you in life, that's all God requires of us, is take that first step of faith and then take another step, because he will provide enough light for each step that you're on.
I love that. I feel like that's a perfect wrapping this up,
Though I could talk all day with you.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, you were just such a blessing. And like I said, hopping in the social media realm, there's a lot of hard that can come with it, and there's a lot of good. And I just want to thank you for shining light in the social media world of just not only your incredible photos, but just your personality and what you stand for, and just that joy that you feel when you hop on your page. And so
Thank you.
I am thankful for you. I'm thankful that you said yes
for you. Thank you for
on
being my
here.
first podcast interview.
So, Scarlett, where
and
can
giving me a
people
chance.
Yes,
As I posted on social media right before I came on, this is me stepping outside of my comfort zone to be interviewed on a podcast. Because when you're a writer, you know, it's one thing to be behind the scenes on a screen, but to, you know, put yourself in front of a camera and everything, it requires a lot of uncomfortableness, but we did it.
I love it. So where can my audience find you? Where can this audience find you?
Yeah, so all of my social handles are at White Pecan Farmhouse or White Pecan Farmhouse. You know, there's always the different variations of how you say it. And yeah, I'd love to, if you listen to this podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM. And yeah, and then you can also find my book on Amazon.
Yes, please look at your book. If for this video, I have it right here.
Yes.
Backyard Chickens, The Beginner's Guide. And you are just going to love each and every page. And then the book is so beautiful that it can just sit out on your porch. And
yes, I tried to design it like a coffee table book that you would just want to display after reading.
Yes, so thank you so much for being here, for being you, and I will definitely have your links and stuff in the show notes as well. Awesome. And before we go, I almost forgot, but since you're my first guest for season 4, I always love to give a little sweet. I'm a gift giver enthusiast, and so every guest that I have on, I want them to choose somebody who matters to them and why, and then when this airs, we'll send out a little treat from you and me, just making them feel a little extra loved. So who would you pick and why?
So I do have my bestie in mind. I'm going to keep her anonymous though, because she's not one on social media. But she has been my just not only best friend, she's been one of my greatest cheerleaders. She's been my therapist. I've been her therapist. We've gone through a lot of ups and downs together, and she is the one who inspired me to homeschool my children, and she is that one sister in Christ that is my iron sharpens iron, and you know, keeps me accountable, challenges me in the ways that we all need that friend to push us and step outside our comfort zone to continue having the faith and believing. And I would love for her to receive that beautiful gift from you.
I love that. And those gems in life, they're so there. They're just like a rare flower that when you find it, and someone who can walk literally through so many different seasons and variations of who Scarlett is really, really beautiful to push you, challenge you, and to like love you immensely through it all. So I'm so excited.
Keep me reminded that we all matter.
Yes, we all matter.
What your mission is, and she's been that person in my life, and I can continue to try to be that in hers.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming on, and go ahead and follow her and rush to Amazon and buy that book. It is so worth it. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. It was a joy.